웃어? 내 손에 칼이 있는데?
Back in 1388, the founding king of the Joseon dynasty made a timely decision to turn his army around, leading to the fall of the final stronghold of the Goryeo dynasty. Sensing the looming danger, the Goryeo general seized the kingdom's treasures and escaped deep into the sea, disappearing without a trace. 4 years later, a band of thieves led by Muchi end up drifting in the open sea, clinging to a piece of wood after escaping soldiers who were trying to arrest them for robbing the palace. Luckily, Captain Haerang and her pirate crew come across them, rescue them, and bring them aboard their ship. The moment Muchi sees her, he mistakes Haerang for a stunning angel, but after 4 months, he realizes just how strict and no-nonsense she really is. Tension builds between the two groups, as the pirates see the thieves as lazy and filthy, while the thieves believe these aren't real pirates since they only go after Japanese pirates instead of merchant ships. On top of that, the thieves are unsure whether to follow Muchi as their leader or obey Haerang since they are on her ship. One afternoon, they spot another Japanese pirate vessel and prepare to attack. Eager to prove his worth, Muchi charges in first and quickly takes down their enemies with his impressive sword skills.
좀 보일까?
웃어? 내 손에 칼이 있는데?
Haerang's crew captures the ship, and although the enemy captain refuses to speak, one frightened child reveals that they were searching for a massive treasure. Fortunately, one of Haerang's men has already secured the map, and they realize it leads to the same treasure stolen by the Goryeo generals years ago. The crew becomes eager to chase it, and after a brief moment of hesitation, Haerang finally agrees. Soon, the group arrives on an island, where Muchi steps in to lead since Haerang struggles to read the map. When they suddenly spot a cow, Muchi takes it as a good sign and chases after it with his men, only to realize too late that it's part of a whole herd that ends up trampling them. In the chaos, Muchi is thrown off a cliff, and while everyone assumes he's dead, he's actually alive, hanging onto a branch where he discovers an old tusk. After climbing back up, Haerang quickly takes the tusk, remembering a similar drawing on the map, and realizes the real map is carved into it. Before they can continue though, they first have to treat the injuries caused by the herd. Fed up with the thieves' reckless behavior, Haerang makes it clear she only saved them out of pity, but now that they're back on land, they must follow her as true pirates if they want to stay. Muchi refuses, expecting his men to side with him, but they all choose to follow Haerang instead, leaving him alone on the island. At the same time, the last remaining leader of the Goryeo dynasty is plotting a return to power and recruits the legendary General Hyung-soo for support. Hyung-soo explains that before raising an army, they'll need wealth, making the hidden treasure their best chance. Back on the ship, the crew celebrates with a feast, only to discover that the tusk has been stolen during the distraction. A note points to Muchi as the thief, prompting Haerang to return to the island with a few men to retrieve it. After a dangerous run-in with a tiger, she finds Muchi hiding in an abandoned shack and fights him until he admits that Mak-yi was the one who took it. It turns out, Muchi had secretly returned to the ship at night to steal the tusk, with Mak-yi pretending to stay loyal while helping him. But once they reached the shore, Mak-yi betrayed him, took the tusk for himself, and disappeared. To make things worse, Mak-yi escapes to the mainland and tries to sell the tusk to a wealthy merchant while pretending to be Muchi. Luckily, the crew arrives just in time to stop the deal, reclaim the tusk, and kidnap the merchant's daughter for assisting him. When they return to the ship, Haerang declares that Muchi, Mak-yi, and the girl will be executed. Muchi raises the tusk over the water, warning that he'll let it fall if anyone tries to harm him. Hae-rang lowers her sword and agrees not to kill anyone as long as the tusk is returned to her. Muchi hands it over, but right after that, she pushes him into the water and reveals she already knew about his hidden dagger, explaining she only staged everything to remind the crew that she could kill them anytime if she wanted to. As punishment, Muchi and Maki are forced into manual labor, while Hae-rang and her crew remove the cloth wrapped around the tusk, only to realize the message on it is encoded and impossible for them to read. At the same time, General Hyung-soo tortures a priest to uncover the treasure's location and demands to be named the next king if he succeeds, though the dynasty leader does not take this request well. Back on the ship, Hae-rang eventually allows Muchi to examine the cloth, and he manages to decode it, revealing that their next destination is Haegildo Island. The place is known to be extremely dangerous, with no one ever returning from it, so Muchi refuses to go, but Hae-rang decides the risk is worth taking. She leads a small group in a boat, each carrying a pig bladder filled with air, before diving into a whirlpool that leads them to the cave mentioned on the tusk. Muchi struggles to use the bladder and nearly drowns, forcing Hae-rang to pull him out and give him mouth-to-mouth to keep him alive. Inside, the cave appears empty at first, and just as everyone is about to give up, Muchi notices something and deliberately provokes Hae-rang's right-hand man into a fight. When he throws the man into a wall, it breaks open and reveals a hidden passage. They follow the path and discover several chests, but their excitement quickly fades when they find nothing inside except old bottles. They also come across a strange flag painted with a monster's head, and inside its mouth lies a coded message. Before they can figure it out, an explosion shakes the cave. General Hyung-soo and his men have arrived, entering from above instead of going through the whirlpool. A fierce battle breaks out, and during the chaos, Maki secretly examines the flag before running off, while Hae-rang is knocked unconscious by falling debris. Muchi orders the others to take her away while he stays behind to fight. Hyung-soo becomes even more aggressive after recognizing Muchi as the soldier who once stopped him from becoming king. During the war, Hyung-soo had been promised the throne if he delivered the enemy's head, and to secure victory, he even killed his own wounded soldiers. When Muchi found out, he exposed him and branded him a traitor. Their fight is intense and evenly matched, so Muchi distracts him by throwing his sword before jumping back into the whirlpool along with the chests. Hyung-soo tries to follow, but without a pig bladder for extra air, he is forced to retreat. Soon after, Hae-rang returns to help Muchi, but this time she loses consciousness due to lack of air. Muchi shares air from the bladder with her through mouth-to-mouth, managing to keep her alive. Just as they are about to surface, a whale suddenly appears and swallows them both. The crew believes they are gone for good, but moments later, the whale expels them through its blowhole, safely landing them back on the ship. Meanwhile, Hyung-soo finds the strange flag and quickly deciphers part of the code, convincing the dynasty leader to provide him with a ship armed with powerful cannons to reach the next destination, though one part of the riddle still remains unsolved. Hours later, Hae-rang has a nightmare about fire-breathing dragons and realizes that the code on the flag is actually a sea chart. She rushes out and tells everyone they must return to retrieve the flag since it contains directions to the next location. However, the girl interrupts and reveals that Maki had already seen and understood the code. The crew immediately captures Maki and forces him to confess, and he reveals that the next destination is Inazuma Island, a place surrounded by constant lightning. Maki warns that the journey is extremely dangerous, but since he is the only one who knows the way, he demands to be made captain until they find the treasure. Hae-rang is clearly unhappy, but she allows the crew to vote, and when she closes her eyes, everyone chooses Maki as their temporary captain in hopes of finally reaching the treasure. Maki takes over as captain, while Muchi and Hae-rang are assigned to kitchen duty. Hae-rang turns out to be a terrible cook, but no one dares complain about how bad her food tastes because they're too afraid of her. Muchi teases her about their situation, but she quickly snaps back, making it clear this was never about power. She explains she wouldn't have minded giving up her position if the person replacing her actually deserved it. As expected, Maki proves to be a horrible captain, constantly insulting the crew, handing out punishments over the smallest things, and giving orders that barely make sense. Later that night, Muchi invites Hae-rang to watch the stars with him in the crow's nest, and the two share a quiet and meaningful moment together. The next day, they reach a place known as the Sea of Fire, which Hae-rang survived as a child, and is the source of her nightmares. While legends speak of fire dragons rising from the sea, The truth is that the area is filled with small underwater volcanoes. Hae-rang wants to steer away, but Maki refuses, insisting he knows the route better. Because of this, they sail closer to Inazuma Island, where lightning begins striking the ship and sets parts of it on fire. At the same time, Hyung-soo's ship arrives, using kites to redirect the lightning and avoid damage. Back on the pirate ship, Maki panics and becomes useless, forcing Hae-rang to step in and take control by shouting orders and guiding the crew. Maki nearly falls overboard in the chaos, but Muchi saves him just in time, while Hae-rang successfully steers the ship out of danger with her quick thinking. Soon after, the crew boards smaller boats and heads to the island, but Maki has no idea where to go next since he only knew the name of the location and nothing more. The crew begins digging randomly, while Hyung-soo and his men arrive and, using the riddle, realize they must climb the lightning-struck mountain. Muchi notices that the lightning keeps striking the same spot, so he decides to investigate on his own after telling Hae-rang he's doing it for her. When he reaches the top, he finds Hyung-soo and his men already there, surrounded by abandoned houses and the skulls of Joseon founders mounted on spears. When the soldiers try to remove the skulls, hidden traps activate and kill them instantly. Only one spear remains, and Hyung-soo takes it himself without triggering the trap, as it represents the last surviving general. Meanwhile, Maki runs off to avoid the crew's anger, and stumbles upon a penguin carrying a gold bar in its beak. He calls the others over, and they try to communicate with the animal but fail. Suddenly, cannon fire echoes across the island as Hyung-soo's ship begins attacking the pirate ship. Muchi is distracted by the noise and accidentally reveals his position, prompting Hyung-soo to send his men after him while he opens a chest beneath the spear. Instead of treasure, he finds an old mask that matches the face on the flag. Hae-rang worries about Muchi but knows she must protect their ship, so she gives a powerful speech that rallies the crew back under her leadership. They split into two groups, with some heading up the mountain to help Muchi, while the rest return to the ship with Hae-rang. Maki, upset at losing his captain role, storms off with the penguin and ties a rope to it, forcing it to lead him underwater in search of gold. At the mountain's peak, the thieves arrive just in time to help Muchi, allowing him to steal the mask from Hyung-soo and challenge him to a final duel. During the fight, the mask is knocked away and lands on Maki's head, where he discovers it contains the final clue. The mask reveals the word "enter," matching the shape of a cave beneath the island, leading him to the true treasure. Inside, he finds a frozen cavern filled with penguins and, most importantly, the legendary ship containing the treasure. Maki celebrates too soon and gets attacked by the penguins. Meanwhile, Hae-rang and her crew manage to reach their boats, but by the time they return, their ship has already been destroyed. Refusing to give up, their archer begins firing at Hyung-soo's crew, inspiring the rest of the pirates to launch an attack and take over the enemy ship. The battle becomes even more dangerous as underwater volcanoes erupt around them, setting the ship on fire while the enemy captain refuses to cooperate with Hae-rang. Just as all hope seems lost, Maki appears aboard the legendary ship with the penguins and rescues everyone. The crew quickly boards the new ship, and moments later, a massive whirlpool forms, triggering more eruptions and destroying the enemy vessel. Thanks to Hae-rang's skillful control of the helm and smart commands, they manage to escape safely. Back on the mountain, the storm intensifies, forcing Muchi and Hyung-soo to drop their swords to avoid being struck by lightning. But after seeing their ships destroyed, their anger reignites, and they resume fighting despite the danger. Hyung-soo manages to stab Muchi, but the wound isn't fatal, giving him a chance to keep going. One of the thieves throws Muchi a sword, and he uses it to push Hyung-soo into the exact spot where lightning keeps striking, killing him instantly. In the final scene, Muchi watches from the island as Hae-rang and the rest of the crew arrive on the ship, bringing the treasure with them, which fills everyone with excitement. Suddenly, the archer spots the merchant's daughter and quickly dives off the ship, saving her just in time from the brink of death. Hae-rang admits she might accept Muchi as her co-captain if he straightens up, and when Muchi confesses that he would follow her even into the afterlife, Hae-rang responds by passionately kissing him. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more movies coming your way.